One of the major benefits of Microsoft Excel is its ability to do calculations. So today I'd like to show you some of the formulas you can use. To give you an indication of just how many formulas are involved, I'm going to click on the Insert Formula button. And here you can see we have financial formulas, date and time, math and trig, statistical, lookup and reference, database, text, logical, information, and even engineering formulas. If I want to search for a particular formula, I can search in the search box. Let's look for sum. It'll show me the formula, it'll show me how to use the formula, and it'll give me a brief description. But let's begin with basic operations. Our basic mathematical operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So let's start there. What I'm going to do is click in the cell that I want the formula to appear in. I'm going to start every formula by using the equal sign. You can also use the plus sign if you prefer. But I'm going to start with equals. Then you can either type in the reference for the cell you want to use, or you can click on it. Let's start by just typing it in. So I want to add cell B3, and I'm going to add it, plus sign, to cell C3. You can see that it highlights the cells that I'm currently using. So now I'm simply going to press enter, and I get the result. So 15 plus 20 is 35. The good thing about this is if any of these values change, let's say I change 15 to 30, and I press enter, you can see that Excel automatically recalculates the value for me. Subtraction is also very simple. Click on the cell that I want my value to appear in, go equals, click on my first value, minus sign, click on my second value, and then simply press enter. For multiplication we do the same thing, except here we're going to use the star key. So I'm going to hold shift and press 8, and I get the star. I'm going to click on my next value, and I'm going to press enter. And 15 times 20 is indeed 300. Division, we're going to use forward slash, equals, my first value, my forward slash button, my second value, and press enter. 120 divided by 30 is indeed 4. Now this is great for doing simple calculations between two values. In some cases you want to add a range of numbers. For those you can use sum. So I can type equals, the word sum, open bracket, and then I need to give the range of figures that I want to add. So in my case I'm going to add cell B3, and I want to end on cell B6. Close my brackets. So this is telling Excel to add all the values between B3 and B6. Let me press enter. There we go. If I want to do multiplication in the same way, I can type equals, the word product, open brackets, my first value, I'm going to hold my mouse down and simply drag to get to the bottom value, close my brackets, enter. There are some other useful formulas that I use often. One is to truncate. Truncate just means I simply drop all the decimal places. This is fairly simple. I type in equals, trunc, open bracket. Now you can see it tells me what to use, so I need to basically give it a number. So I'm going to give it this number. You can see the number of digits is actually in square brackets. This means it's actually not necessary, so I can leave it out. So I'm going to close my bracket, press enter, and if I truncate 15.74, I get the value of 15. To round up, let's say I want to round my decimals up to the next whole number or round them down depending, equals round, open bracket, click on my value. Now you can see the number of digits is now required, so I'm going to put a comma, a naught, and I'm going to close my brackets. Press enter. So it's going to round up 15.74 to 16. If this was 15.44, it would take it down to 15. Also, sometimes you want to look at an average. Average is also easy. Equals average, open bracket, click on my range, close bracket. So I want the average value of the cells B3 to B6. I press enter, and my average value is 48.75. There are sometimes you want to raise a number to a particular power. So for example, in my case, I want to have 10 to the power 2. So I'm going to type equals power, open bracket. So I want to raise 10 to the power 2, so I'm going to say it's B18, comma, C18. And I'm going to close my bracket. And 10 to the power 2 should be 10 times 10, which is 100. And sure enough, that's what I get. To get a square root, I simply type square root, open bracket, select the number that I want to have a square root of. So the square root of 25 should give me 5. And sure, there it does. Now, if I want to do calculations for circles, for example, I need to use a variable called pi. Thankfully, Excel has the value pi for me, so if I type equals pi, open bracket, close bracket, this will give me the value of pi to 10 decimal places. Enter. So there's my pi. I can choose whatever radius I want. Now what I'd like to do is work out the perimeter of a circle. The formula is 2 pi r. So I'm going to type equals the number 2 multiplied by the value of pi multiplied by the radius. Press enter, and the perimeter of my circle is 282.743. Now if I go back at a later date and I look at my cell, I can see what I've covered there, 2 times B23 times B24. It's not really clear what that is. So what is nice about Excel is I can actually label my variables. I can actually label any cell I like. So I'm going to click on the value of pi, and you can see here in the name box it says it's B23, but I'd like it to actually be called pi. So I'm going to highlight it and simply type in pi and press enter. I'm going to do the same with radius. I'm going to click on this value of radius. Instead of B24, I want to call it radius. Now when I go back to the perimeter of my circle, I can type in, instead of saying 2 times B23 times B24, I can say it's going to be equals to 2 times pi times radius. And there's my radius there. If I press enter, I get the same value. If I go back at a later date and look at the formula, it's now a lot clearer as to what I did. The area of the circle is going to be pi r squared. So I'm going to type equals pi times radius times radius. And I press enter. And there we go, the area of my circle. One of the benefits in naming your cells is when you start to use formula links. Let me first show you what a formula link is. Let's start by creating a new sheet. I'm going to click on the new sheet button, and I'm going to type in total. Let's say for some reason I want this total to be the total of the products that we had. So here I'm going to type equals. I'm going to click on the mathematics sheet. I'm going to find the total that I'm looking for, which is in cell B11. I'm going to press enter, and that total is now linked to my new sheet. If the total should change in the original sheet, it will automatically change in my new sheet. This requires me to go through the sheets and actually find the totals. The benefit of naming your cells is if I wanted to list the value of pi, I can simply type equals and my name, and it will automatically put it in for me. This makes my life a lot simpler. Having formula links is very useful because it means you can have all your variables on one sheet, you can put all your data on another sheet, and all the totals on yet a third sheet. This means organizing your data in Excel becomes a lot easier. We can also do calculations on dates. Let's say I want to display today's date. I simply type equals today, open bracket, close bracket, and I press enter. And it will display today's date. Tomorrow that date will change, and it will always display the current date. If I'd like to display just the day, I can type equals day, open bracket, close bracket, and I get the number 2. The same works for month. And the same works for year. Right, in some cases I want to know what the week number is. So I want to know what week I'm actually dealing with. So I'm going to type in equals week num, the date, and press enter. If I want to, I can add days to a certain date. Let's say, for example, somebody agrees to pay me in 180 days. I want to know what that date is. I can simply type equals, click on the date, add 180, and press enter. So 29th of the 12th, 2021 is 180 days away. Lastly, I'd like to show you some logical tests. In my first cell, what I'd like to do here is I'd like to test whether this number is either negative or positive. I can do this using an if statement. To show this to you a little easier, I'm actually going to make use of the function button. So I'm going to click on function. I'm going to type in if. There's the if statement there. I'm going to click on OK. This now brings up this little screen. So my logical test, what do I want to test for? I want to test whether A2 is greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, I'd like you to type the word positive. If it's less than 0, I'd like you to type the word negative. You can see the screen already tells me that my test is false, and it already shows me what the result should be. So I'm going to click on OK. So yes, minus 150 is indeed negative. If I change this value to 100, you can see it's positive. There is, however, one slight issue. What about the number 0? It tells me the number 0 is negative, which of course it isn't. So here's where I can make use of what they call a nested if statement. Now this is pretty advanced. If it doesn't work for you, don't stress. I just want to show you that it's possible. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to test whether or not the value is 0. So I'm going to test whether that value is equal to 0, comma. If that's true, I'd like you to type the word 0. If it's false, I'd like you to do another if statement. So then we're going to do what we did before. So if, we're going to test to see if that's greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, we want to type the word positive. And if it's not greater than 0, we want to type the word negative. Close brackets and close brackets. Okay, so this is called the nested if statement. Okay, let me just go through this one more time. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to test if A3 is equal to 0. If that is true, we display 0. If it's false, we're going to run another if statement. We're going to test a second time to see if A3 is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, we're going to display positive, and if it's not, we're going to display negative. So minus 15 is indeed negative. 15 gives us positive, and here if we type 0, we get 0, which is exactly the result that we expected. The last thing I want to quickly show you is that Excel can work with true and false values as well. So here I've decided to write in 3 conditions. It's windy, it's cold, and it's raining. Is it windy? Yes, it is. Is it cold? Yes, it is. Is it raining right now? No, it's not. So here we can do is we can say equals and what and is going to do is going to test whether all of these are true. If it's not, it's going to display false. If I change this to true, it becomes true. Or we'll test whether any of them are true. And sure enough, we do have at least one true value. This can be very useful when you combine these true and false values with if statements. You run an if statement that basically gives you a true or false value, and then you can check all your if statements together to see whether or not everything's true or one of them is true. There are obviously many more formulas that we can use, but these are the most common ones that I find I use most often. Thank you so much. Goodbye.